Welcome and thanks for joining this webinar on mobile devices with Infor EAM. All participants are in listen-only mode. However, we welcome your questions in the Q&A box. Questions will be answered at the end of the webinar, time permitting. I'm Larry Kiernan with Zebra Technologies. I head up our partnership with Infor and work with the EAM team, a product team, to ensure Infor users get the best experience on Zebra devices. Here with us today is Paul Hilton, and he is our field mobility lead and will share the results of a mobility study around service technicians. Also, he'll give a framework to compare consumer and enterprise mobile devices. Welcome, Paul. Noel McKeon is Business Development Manager with Barcoding Inc. And Barcoding is a Zebra partner as well as an Infor Alliance partner and bring mobility expertise with Infor EAM. Also, we have 3 polling questions and we'll share the results back immediately, so we hope you participate. Next, Paul. Real quick, a bit about Zebra Technology, a startup 50 years ago. Today, we have over $4 billion in sales and more than 7,500 employees across 40 countries. If you aren't familiar with us, we make devices that reside on what we call the edge of the enterprise. Our typical mobile users are maintenance technicians, retail salesperson, plant floor, warehouse, transportation workers. We design and build purpose-built mobile devices for the enterprise worker. Next slide. We lead in our major target markets. Zebra does not make consumer devices, phones or tablets, so our name is not as well known as consumer manufacturers, but we do well in our space. Zebra started in barcoding, printing and scanning, but now rugged mobile computing is now our largest part of our business and our biggest growth area. So that's a bit about Zebra. Let me turn it to Paul. Paul?
Thank you, Larry. Thank you. So if you are new to Zebra, welcome to the family. If you are familiar with Zebra, it is probably because one of the items that you see on the left-hand side of your screen here, whether it's a scanner, a barcode printer, a mobile computer, you know, we've really gone through a whole evolution, actually a couple evolutions these last couple of years as we've added mobile computing to the mix and have been slowly transitioning into a solution company where we are really focusing on all the components that make up the solutions that you need to run your operations efficiently and smoothly here. So we've taken some big steps to get into the data platforms, software that isn't provided by our partner community. We have a very vast partner community, as you'll hear from Noel a little bit later on, that we work very closely with. And any software we do is going to not replicate or duplicate anything our partner community does, but be there to enhance the solution offering or to enhance that partner's software. Similar with services, whether it's from Zebra directly or through our partner network, you know, offering those services needed to complete that comprehensive solution and getting into some newer technologies like locationing and RFID that we're going to get into here. But as Larry said, we set out and did a vision study here around field operations. This is something that we do quite frequently, depending on the different verticals, whether it's retail, hospitality, healthcare. You know, this is something that we did end of last year, beginning of this year, and then we'll refresh it every couple of years moving on here. And how we do this is we reach out to hundreds of end users and accounts globally and with an independent group and just ask them questions about where do they see their business going? What new and emerging technologies are important to them in their operation? What is going to play a key role? We take this data back, very valuable data, and we feed it into our strategy and make sure that we are moving in the direction that we need to here. So you can find more about it, get the whole vision study. This is really just a snapshot of it, some cut and paste out of the whole study to fit it onto a nice little slide here, but you'll be able to find the whole study down at the link below here. So just to touch on a couple points here that we saw, you know, it was interesting. We found that 73 of the energy utility companies consider themselves a mobile first business. And while that is a term that we did come up with, it was essentially, we are coining that as, you know, any group that recognizes mobile solutions as a way to drastically improve their team's performance out in the field. So it was great to see that was where a lot of our participants and a lot of our partners out in the field were looking to do here. So whether it be some emerging technology like the sensors, RFID, blockchain, augmented reality being a very big one, or even all the way down to just a simple rugged tablet or a rugged smartphone here, as you can see in the kind of the middle of the top row here, where, you know, quite a few, majority of our participants do see those components playing a major role here in the next few years in their operations. And now we're going to start off with our first poll question here. So what technology do you see impacting your business the most in the next coming years? Okay, could be something, you know, everyone's along a different technology path. Some of you might be at the very early stages, still using pen and paper out in the field, but looking to adopt that first solution, or maybe you are pretty far down that path. You have multiple solutions under your belt, and you're starting to look at some of the more emerging technologies. So this is really, there's no wrong answers here. You could be at any step in this digitization process. This is really just gives us a good feeling of where this specific audience falls today.
So the results are coming in. I'm going to close it off in about 5 seconds, but there is a clear leader in the list with this group. So let me close this off and share the results.
Okay. I had a hunch it would be the mobile devices. So 77%. So thank you all for participating in that. That's very helpful. It's good to see that everything's getting a good look. Even one person looking at blockchain, and so that's extremely helpful there.
And I know we've been working with Infor EAM, or they've been working on RFID integration, etc. So a lot of this Infor is addressing.
That's great. All right.
All right.
There we go. All right. There we go. Gotta get the cursor back to the right spot here. So taking a look at, you know, that poll, we could not have planned that any better. When we go to build out our mobile devices for the field, there's certain criteria that we make sure that we have to hit, but all of it comes down into a couple buckets. You know, we are designing these components to make sure that the solution is minimizing your downtime, reducing the manual data entry errors, and then improving productivity and reducing costs all at the same time. So, you know, making sure that you're always connected, that the battery is lasting full shifts, enabling those workers to do the job they need to do as quickly as possible, give them as many tools as they can to make sure that they are checking all the boxes while they're out in the field and don't need to repeat visits for lack of information or lack of a specific tool. Now, a big question that we commonly get asked is, you know, these OtterBox cases are pretty good. They are making consumer grade fit the field. And while depending on the use case, sometimes that is what we call quote unquote good enough. There are certain criteria that we ask that you think about. You know, certain things that folks miss when they automatically start with that consumer grade. So we want to offer up this list just to help you, give you some guidance, just to make sure that, you know, if you're looking at consumer grade, that you're checking all these boxes here. And so some of the ones that I want to call out, that full shift battery here, okay? Making sure that that battery is, if you're running long shifts, and when we say shifts, we're talking 10 to 14 hours as the possible, you know, worst case scenario here, potentially even longer. You know, these batteries are built to go the distance there on one charge. Have an integrated scanner. Not sure if many of you have tried to scan multiple items, multiple barcodes, QR codes at a rapid pace with a consumer grade smartphone camera. It's not going to get the job done that quickly. Being durable enough, having the device be sealed to withstand any weather, any precipitation, any dust, keeping everything outside the device and from getting in and causing any issues from that inside. And a big one that we always hear is the bright display. You know, making the configurable display that not only can adjust to be legible during the brightest direct, you know, sunlight, but also being able to adjust the sensitivity of the screen for anyone working with gloves or anyone that's working out in the weather elements and having, you know, rain or precipitation fall onto the screen here. So I believe we have another poll question here that focuses a little bit more on, you know, there's a whole slew of, you know, depending on the use case of where you see these devices going, you know, there's a couple things. So what are the top 3 features here that your specific use case or need desires? You know, we talked about the long battery, but if your worker's getting in and out of a truck and can plug into a cigarette lighter charger, you know, maybe that might not be at the top of your list here. Or, you know, if your users aren't wearing gloves, then, you know, maybe the screen sensitivity isn't that important. So, you know, multiple choice here. Pick your top 3. What are most important to your use case?
Full shift battery, would the swappable battery kind of fit under number 6 there?
That's a good point. A lot of our devices are made with a hot swappable battery, meaning you could take the battery out, talk to somebody for a couple minutes, put the new battery back in, and it's going to pick up right where you left off. It's going to have an internal battery that keeps that charge going while you're changing that.
Okay, I'll leave it open for another 5 seconds or so. There we go. All right, I will share the results here.
All right, seeing durability as the top choice, but full shift battery coming in a second, and a good mixture for the rest of them. So
all right,
that's as expected. So thank you for sharing that. You know, one of the favorite reasons was given to us by an account a couple years back that had looked at going consumer grade. Well, I won't mention the company. They pretty much said that they had some issues with the consumer grade, and the manufacturer was, you know, a little bit difficult. They had tried to reach out to them on a couple times to get assistance and did not hear back. But they knew that, you know, if they had Zebra in that place, that, you know, that there are several people at Zebra that they could call to get help. So, you know, attention to your specific needs and your challenges. You know, that's how Zebra got to be all those #1 spots in the market share that Larry spoke to earlier.
Hey, Paul, one of the questions came up is, aren't outdoors ready and bright display basically the same thing?
Say that again?
they were confused as to bright display and outdoors ready. Isn't that basically the same?
That's a good point, and apologies if I didn't explain that very well. But yes, the bright display speaks directly to being able to read the screen in direct sunlight, as and with polarized, sunglasses, as many of our eyewear and safety protection or safety goggles are these days. Being outdoor ready, that could mean a number of things. That could mean adjusting the sensitivity of the screen to not react if a raindrop were to fall on it, or if you're going in and out of a freezer or cold conditions, wearing gloves, as many of our devices are. You can adjust the sensitivity of that screen. Now, being just outdoors ready also incorporates being sealed to keep out any kind of condensation or precipitation out of the device and getting in there and getting the circuits, the boards wet. Good question, though. Apologies, I could have explained that better.
Thanks. I knew we said we'd wait till the end, but I couldn't wait. So sorry.
I'm always good playing it by ear. All right. I'm going to close this. There we go. All right. So taking a look at some of Zebra's field offerings here. So, and this is really just a snapshot, okay? If you're familiar with Zebra, we have scanners that are made for every use case, printers that are made for all kinds of volume of printings and barcode labels, what have you. But this is really just a snapshot of what we see most common in the field here. So across the top, you'll see our mobile computing devices. To the left, a couple of our tablets here, the ET5, and next to it, the L10, 8-inch, 10-inch offerings. The great thing about this is that they are running both Android and big Windows. If you've been keeping up with Microsoft, they have gotten away from a mobile operating system, but they are still very strong in the big Windows, the desktop, and the large display tablet area. To the right of that are a couple of our handhelds, think 5-inch screen and smaller here, fit nicely in your hand or into your pocket or a holster if you need to be hands-free in the field if you're working. And as you can see, it's, we apply a method, a good, better, best here. Certain devices are, certain use cases don't require the most rugged. Our TC7, I think, is one of the most rugged devices we've ever built, and going into some of the most rugged use cases. And I think the most rugged we found is baggage handler on a tarmac at any airport. It's all kinds of weather, any kinds of weather, getting dropped from the cargo hold down to straight to concrete. But you might not always need that level of durability, and that's why we offer a good, better, best there as you go. Across the bottom to the left, a couple of our printing options. We, as Larry said, we started off 50 years ago with the big invention of the time, the barcode, and printing those barcodes on labels, and building printers that once again can print labels 24/7. Only stopping to add more media to it, or moving down the line to do mobile printing, as you see with our ZQ600 and our ZQ500, and even getting to a point now where we can print RFID labels on the spot there to capture whatever detail you want about that asset that RFID tag is on. And to the right, some of the ways to read those RFID tags that you are printing here. So the MC3300 with an integrated reader, as well as an RFID sled that connects via Bluetooth there. And wanted to talk real quick, it's devices are devices, but it's more than speeds and feeds. This is something very unique. Microsoft is very locked down. There's very little that you can do to it, but Android is an open platform. And just as you go out and you get a Samsung phone and you get a Google Calendar and a Samsung Calendar, okay, they've added their own layer to that. Well, I'm not sure what use it is for you to have a couple different calendars on your phone here. We saw that as an opportunity. We said, all right, we can take stock Android and we could add our own layer of applets or apps here that you see to help make this consumer grade platform be enterprise ready. So all kinds of apps that can be used as business tools, like our Workforce Connect that operates as a push to talk, just like the old Nextels that we all loved. Management tools, ways to manage the updates that Android pushes out, making sure that you, the admin, gets to see them first before they get pushed out. You have time to test them. Precision control on the battery, making sure that the batteries are being used properly and giving alerts when batteries are starting to go bad. Our biggest one's probably Stage Now. You know, all you have to do is take that new device out of the box, scan a barcode, and the device is going to set up itself to the configuration that and the software that you had set into that barcode, as well as all kinds of productivity and development tools. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Noel to share a little bit more about Barcoding Inc.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. So great to be a part of this webinar, this conversation with everyone today. As Larry mentioned earlier, my name is Noel McKeon, Business Development Manager here at Barcoding Incorporated. And we are a North American supply chain and automation innovation company that enables companies, organizations to really become more efficient, accurate, and connected. And we work in close partnership with both Zebra Technologies and Infor. And as an official Infor Alliance partner, right, we are, and a partner of Zebra's, we're able to provide Infor EAM customers with full access to the portfolio of equipment, some of which Paul just highlighted, right, we talked through. But beyond providing simply that equipment, we strive and we focus on delivering a complete and a comprehensive customer solution that includes all of the ancillary parts and pieces required to get up and running and in your environment, right? So everything from device staging, deployment services, some of which, you know, Paul just had mentioned the configuration barcode capabilities, but delivering on that capability and wrapping that in to ongoing support, lifecycle management, right? And then certainly, most importantly for the community here, that expert integration into Infor EAM. And so really a white glove experience so that when you get the equipment and technology that you select, that we help in the evaluation of, it's a take it out of the box, turn it on, and away you go, right? So it's easily deployed and impacts the ROI basically immediately, right? As soon as you unbox that equipment. So that's some background on us, Barcoding. We wanted to pause here and ask one final polling question from the audience. So this is the third and final one, we promise. Larry, you wanna, there we go.
Yes, it's launched. Can you see it? The question is,
Yep.
what mobile technology do your technicians use today? Pick one.
So perfect. So, you know, we realize your feedback's important, but we want to get a sense. We know, I think already from some previous answers where this question might land, but, you know, are you paper only on the mobility side? Is it mostly paper? Are you mostly consumer devices? So the things that you might get off the shelf at a big electronics supplier, or are you mostly enterprise? Do you already have some of the devices or majority of the devices that we're talking about here today deployed?
And I'll leave it open for 5 more seconds. I think you've hit a critical mass. There we go. I'll share results.
So interesting, you know, we certainly have the lead there is mostly consumer. So I'm glad we're here talking about what we're talking about, just trying to give some thought and some leadership of ideas around these concepts around, you know, why enterprise versus consumer. And, you know, take a deeper dive with you around some of the topics we're talking about here today. We're always happy to do that. So great, appreciate that feedback. It's very helpful for us. So yeah, moving along here, I just wanted to talk and frame out what I consider sort of the 3 pillars for barcoding, the core areas of expertise that we bring to the table. You know, the first is around data capture solutions. So we have expertise in everything from manual data capture to barcode-based data capture to then more you know, in-depth kind of interesting technologies like RFID and IoT-based data capture. So that's sort of pillar 1. The second is around barcode RFID label generation, right? And crafting a printing solution that enables you, the customer, to properly tag, identify, and then trace critical assets, locations, and people throughout your organization. And then finally, last, certainly not least, is our expertise around the rugged smartphone tablet solutions that we've at a high level discussed already with you, right? And providing your workers with, again, those kind of fit to purpose devices that Zebra offers. You can see that good, better, best, and deciding on and crafting and taking you through that journey of selecting which of those is appropriate to extend really the benefits and the capabilities of Infor EAM further across your organization, right? Bring it to that edge that Paul talked about at the beginning of the enterprise. So a deeper dive, we shared a polling question. There was interest in and around RFID as it impacts your business in the future. So I wanted to share with you a little bit around RFID, very, very high level. But it is, again, under one of those pillars I talked about, it's one of our core competencies. In fact, we have an entire engineering group of experts based around, you know, strictly RFID technology and how to leverage the benefits of this technology and then integrate it within the appropriate operational flows that exist already within Infor EAM. So Zebra provides a comprehensive portfolio of equipment, all, you know, that much of which can leverage to some extent RFID, but there's really a lot of options and there's a lot of scenarios and thought, you know, that needs to be considered carefully as you embark upon, you know, selecting or looking to select or deploy an RFID based solution. So, you know, questions always come up, you know, things like, you know, is your asset tracking scenario best supported by an active RFID tag or a passive RFID tag, right? And, you know, what's the difference? And, you know, we'll take you through that journey and get into details around that. But, you know, do you require portal readers that measure the flow of goods at various choke points throughout your facility, right? Are Bluetooth low energy tags a consideration for tracking your equipment? So these are just, you know, a sampling, right? A small subset of some of the questions that we usually ask. And it's important to evaluate and select the options that are best fit for your organization. And RFID technology offers a ton of great possibility for tracking and controlling assets. But it's, you know, I make the point, it's critical to partner with organizations that can assist in this evaluation, the design, and the implementation of such systems. And this is what we are. This is what barcoding does and what we can provide you with. So happy to provide additional insight into RFID or any of the information we shared here today, bridge to additional conversations with you and your team around the capabilities that Infor, EAM, Zebra, and barcoding can together provide for you.
Good, thank you, Noel. So we'll open it up to questions. We did get a few questions here in the Q&A. First, I think, Paul, does Zebra provide handheld scanning devices with Apple iOS?
So, great question. We do have some standalone scanners that will Bluetooth to iOS. So that is a possibility. That does create, you know, another device or another component for your workers to keep track of and to use. But yes, we do find some use cases where that does work, and we are able to do that.
But the devices we manufacture are Android, or in the tablet case, Windows as well.
Correct. Our mobile computing devices are going to be Android based, or you know, for our larger displays on our fork truck mounts and our large display tablets, they are going to be big Windows can be an option. So, but we do have some Bluetooth companion scanners that do work with iOS, and same with our mobile printers.
And do Zebra devices offer better connectivity to Wi-Fi than consumer?
That would depend on several different variables, but you know,
Isn't there a tool within Mobility DNA that helps manage Wi-Fi? Like,
yes,
when you walk from one end of the building to the other, it'll move you to the better connection.
correct. If you're going in and out of networks, then that is an area that Zebra is, you know, builds our devices, knowing that that is going to be a common use case, and can perform, build specific features out for those cases.
Larry, I'll add to that too, from a, you know, Wi-Fi connectivity standpoint. A lot of it depends on not just the device as the endpoint, but your infrastructure, right? So an element, an approach that we take is one of analyzing your existing Wi-Fi setup and configuration, if you have one. If you don't and you're deploying one, again, looking at the entire environment and providing feedback like a site survey and heat mapping studies that actually promote, you know, exact and specific settings to ensure the integrity of connections, especially mobility, where devices are, you know, multiple devices can all be talking in one spot. So, you know, allowing that hopping around, that movement, and that consolidation within a given spot really also comes down to kind of the infrastructure and getting solid advice around, you know, proper settings and configuration there.
Okay. The other one is, how many customers are using our mobile solutions? Name a few. Do you have case studies?
That would depend. You know, we have, you know, thousands of customers around the globe when it comes to Zebra, and in order to, we do have some case studies. We might need a little bit more information on the specific use case as far as EAM, but yeah, I think we could probably come up with.
I mean, just to name customers, you know, the U.S. Postal Service is moving, taking the TC5, Home Depot, every store I go into. But are there other manufacturers you might mention?
Yeah, I mean, Ford, John Deere, you know, Coke, Pepsi, you know, pretty much a who's who is using Zebra to some degree in their supply chain, tracking their inventory and their assets.
Good. The out-of-box device configuration solution, I think, stage now.
Correct.
Do you need to wipe the device to apply a new configuration, or are changes able to be applied as updated?
That's around the initial setup of the device. So when you get that new device, or if you get it back from service and it's been restored to factory settings, whatever you have in your service agreement, you know, you can just scan that barcode, and then any updates it should be configured to however you configure it from that stage now barcode, it should be, you could easily work it into, your mobile device management tool, whether you're using SODI or AirWatch, Iron Mountain, it's that stage now. It's just kind of that first step when you get that blank device. Or if you want to blank it out, go back to default and set it up again. Updates within the applications you're being used can be pushed down through, usually pushed down through MDM if you're using them.
Okay. That's it for questions. There was a question about sharing the presentation. I'll reach out to Kevin and the EAM User Advisory Council and make sure these slides and the recording can be available. With that, thank you, Paul. Thank you, Noel. Thank you all for your attendance. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.